Hello. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a phone call. That's awkward. Hello, Pauper? We haven't spoken in a while. Oh, you can change? It'll be different this time? It won't be like last time? I don't know about this, but I'll give you another chance. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for my first Pauper video in, I don't know, 3-4 months, something like that. I quit the format after being just kind of very unhappy with how my games were shaking out as a casual player of the format. Mostly because anytime that I tried to play any sort of brew or unoptimized deck list, Monastery Swiftspear, kind of backing up that mono red deck, was just obliterating any brew that I played. And anytime that I stumbled, and even sometimes when I didn't, I just couldn't keep up with the raw speed of that deck. So, about 2 days ago, Monastery Swiftspear was banned from the format, and Gavin Verhey put together an excellent video, or there's an article description of the same thing that you can read slash watch slash listen to if you want to kind of know the full rationale for why this card got banned and some other cards didn't. But this has me looking at the format again because one of the biggest reasons I didn't enjoy the format was because I often just died and I didn't get to make any meaningful decisions. And if the red deck, which was one of the biggest offenders in that category of creating these non-games, even if its win percentage wasn't necessarily high all the time, that is probably enough to get me to try at least one league with the format. And one of the big cards that I think is going to be a major player in Pauper moving forward is Tithing Blade. This was a card that I've had my eye on for a while, as historically in Pauper, effects that are reusable because they are attached to permanents end up being much stronger than they look on the surface. Let's ignore the craft with a creature part for a minute. Let's just focus on the edict effect. This is a format of like Kor Skyfishers and Glint Hawks picking up and reusing things like experimental synthesizer and being able to repeatedly use an edict when the format gets a little bit slower because the best card arguably from the mono red deck is removed. Like, this becomes very attractive to me. And so today we are going to be playing a black-white deck that kind of utilizes permanents that give you card advantage in one way or another. And some of you might think of this video as being like black-white design mistakes, because we're going to be playing cards that are, very pushed by Pauper's standards, because like Monarch and Initiative are not designed for one-on-one formats, and they certainly aren't designed for formats with all commons. And while I normally try to really show off the range of a format and like play all sorts of interesting brews, like if I'm going to stick my toes in the format for one league, I'm going to play something that's proven, I'm going to play something that's powerful, and I'm going to see how the gameplay physically feels. I'm going to walk in with an open mind and a first place deck list from a recent event, and we're going to see how the format feels. And thank you to Jonathan for giving me a dealer's choice donation deck list that is going to give me a chance to try out this format and kind of reevaluate it. Also, apologies for the squiggles around the card. At the time of recording, Cardhoarder is currently down due to a Magic Online update that broke their bots, and I've got to keep working to keep my workflow up, even though I don't have these cards yet. So we're going to record the deck tech and hope Cardhoarder is good to go by the time I'm done with this. Now, let's revisit Tithing Blade, a central card of this deck list. The second ability here, Craft with a Creature, allows you to exile Tithing Blade and exile a creature I control or a creature card from my graveyard to return this transformed as Consuming Sepulcher, depending on which pronunciation you use. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So this can be sort of a gradual tick down win condition in addition to everything else that Tithing Blade has to offer, and that's pretty cool. So we have some assorted strong effects here in that we have the ability to bounce permanents And these are attached to flying bodies, which is not nothing in Pauper, because sometimes you will have large bodies stalling the ground, and if you can continue to get in the air, like, that is very reasonable. We have relatively strong removal options, including some sweepers, and we have the ability to kind of fog from one color with prismatic strands that can also protect from removal spells if they are red. And when you are holding Monarch and Initiative, these sorts of effects become even stronger than normal. I think that's most of what I have to say here. So, like, let's go. Let's battle. If you want to try out this deck list, it's available in the video description to moxfield.com. And if you need to buy any of these cards for your next Pauper event, use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your next order at Cool Stuff Inc. Let's battle. Okay, coming into this format after not playing matches in a long time, I'm not sure how many lands I need to be keeping with a deck that looks like this one. I'm going to kind of hope that 2 plus a Thraben Inspector draw while being on the draw is, like, reasonable. But I don't know from experience. My opponent went to 5. Maybe a Fairies deck? Maybe a Terror deck? Well, there's another land. Might end up being... This land just does not have an activated mana ability itself. Just sort of unusual. I mean, you see it sometimes, but usually it's on utility lands, your Maze of Ith style stuff. But if we have an Urborg, we could turn it into a mana producer. Value. Upkeep mental note to mill some stuff. What is this? Exile up to one target card from a graveyard, make a zombie with flashback. Okay, got it. So, let's play Ye Old Thraben Inspector. Get our clue, and then we'll go ahead and bounce the plains to hand. We're set up to play a respectable game of Magic here. Contaminated Aquifer. Okay. ETB tapped common dual land. It seems like we're maybe playing against some sort of terror deck. That is like a pseudo Murktide Regent card. Let's go ahead and crash on in here. My opponent to 19 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I will go down to 7 cards when I play a land here. That's fine. I can just use the clue to draw while also holding up some other stuff. Yeah, Gurmag Angler. All right, we know the vibe of what's going on over there at this point. And Tithing Blade is pretty sick. Yeah, that's fine. All right, and another land drop. This is Ward 2. So I can't actually cast down currently, but I can crack a clue. Got some long-term value prospects going. Using a cast down on this is a little awkward, in that my opponent can wait for me to pay that cost. I'm a little worried about just, like, firing this off. This doesn't fly or anything, though. I don't really want my Tithing Blade to get countered because it's my cleanest answer to what's going on over here. But I think I'm just going to upkeep cast down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. Awkward. I guess not. All right. Let's just cast this down, pay for the ward, and trade cast down for a counterspell. With the hopes of actually resolving a more meaningful spell next turn. Yeah. Sounds good. But I don't think I want to play my premier removal spell just directly into the first counterspell. What does Decayed mean? Decayed means it can't block? No. When it attacks, sacrifice it. Okay, there's a deep analysis for a draw 2. Sure. I think I'll take the first hit for 5 comfortably and leave this here as something that I can pick up later. Glint Hawk as well. Well, this card is damn good if it resolves. Wait, it's not damn good anymore because of this. We'll get it back. We'll get it back. Yeah, maybe I should have just jammed this earlier. No, it's fine. I will now Kor Skyfisher. I think I just go ahead and return this now. Get my beats in with this guy with a funny hat. Drop my opponent by 1. And I think I'm not going to deploy Glint Hawk. I think I want to use that to pick up Tithing Blade again. Like, I could have done this turn where I like Kor Skyfisher, bounce this, and then Glint Hawk bounce this, but I wanted to have both opportunities to pick Tithing Blade up, because I think that matters. But we'll see. That's fine. Gameplay feels like my decisions matter a lot and would be informed by higher format knowledge, so thumbs up for Game 1, Round 1 thus far. That's a Gurmag Angler. Sure. Well, we have some cool things that we can, in theory, do if my spells resolve. Alright, 1 down. So then we will Glint Hawk. Yes. Return Tithing Blade. I think I play around Spell Pierce and don't play this out. And then just intend on fogging with a Prismatic Strand. Oh. Pass down. Sure. I'll do my 1 point of damage here. And again, there's still a Spell Pierce up, so I don't think I jam the Tithing Blade. Oh, it's probably a draw 3? It's a draw 3. That's fine. Like, it's good. Very obviously good at that. Alright, love seeing a tapped land here, because that means a hard counterspell is probably not available. Sure. Let's attempt Fog. Ooh, this is a smart play by my opponent. So they're going to snuff this out, so I can't immediately flush this back. And then if they Spell Pierce this, they get their 5 damage in. Yeah, and I actually thought about not attacking with Thraben Inspector last turn for kind of this very reason. But now I get to remove the Tolarian Terror, and my opponent has 2 cards, so, you know, we're probably okay. So, 2 mana Tithing Blade. Take out that creature. Initiative? I think initiative. It is a busted mechanic. I don't really think it matters which land I get. I'm not going to think about it too much. And I'll hit for 1. Opponent's at 9. I've got another use of Tithing Blade available. I've got a Thorn of the Black Rose as a Death Toucher available. Yep, that's, you know, draw 3s are obviously very good, but my opponent does need to impact the board pretty quickly. That impacts the board. For 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. 4, 8. Fantastic. I am just going to make a big boy. Oh, that is cool. Let's make my land drop. I think I'm gonna start here and see if my opponent like uses 2 mana to counterspell. Yeah, that's fine. So now I'll attack, put them to 4 presumably, and then trap them for a kill. And if they snuff out, they're still dead. Yeah, this gameplay feels good. I like this. Ooh. Ooh. Sure. Thorn. Thorn feels good here. Just get 2 broken mechanics going at the same time. Hold the Goliath Paladin for later. Have Prismatic Strands available. What the fuck is this? That's 6 mana. Oh, just over tapping for a Lorien Revealed. Sure. Alright. Where are you going from here? Sure. Like, it's possible you can survive another turn by removing Goliath Paladin. But, yeah. Alright. So, you probably don't do enough here. I probably just bring in a couple copies of Relic of Progenitus and call it a day. Duress is also not crazy to just make sure a removal spell resolves. We're not looking at a small creature matchup, so these probably go. Need a refresher on this. It gains life and scries? Yeah. Scry 1 and draw. That's fine. Don't know that Omen of the Dead is necessary. This can get me my 3 things that mess around with graveyards. How many prismatic strands do I need? It's weird. My opponent was drawing so many cards. Like, I think they cast 3 Lorien Revealeds, and it just didn't matter. Maybe duressing doesn't make a lot of sense when they have Lorien Revealed to just kind of negate 1-for-1s, and I just keep prismatic strands as fogs. My opponent was trying to play around it, but then just like tap themselves out into a weird spot. Let's try running it like this, but I'm not sure that I've sideboarded correctly. Whoa. Look at that. My opponent chose not to play first. I'll keep this. This is a rarity, folks. That is a little awkward, but I probably don't need to just like cast down on turn 2, so I think it's actually fine. Like, I am intending on just playing Orzhov Basilica on my turn and calling that good. Bounce the Ancient Den. My opponent will like probably mill themselves or something here. Yeah. And then like I'll bog on my next turn while holding up removal. Sure. Oh, that even gives me something to play this turn, which is nice because I didn't just have a generic play. My opponent thought about that. A relic. Yes, I will keep a relic. Top that. I think I just bog this turn. And then I use relic to keep things in check from there. Sure. And then kind of the longer this game goes, the worse the Spell Pierce type cards are going to be. Alright, so there's a cycle to shuffle for the Brainstorm. It's a little harder to do in this format. But, you know, good cards are good. Alright, looking nice here. So let's drop an Ancient Den and use that to cast a Relic. Counter target artifact spell, sure. I can Deadly Dispute away this bread if I would like. I might end up doing that end of my opponent's turn to bait a counterspell. Sure. I was like, I would love to do this, get this like actual factual counterspelled, and then resolve a Goliath Paladin. Sure. With multiple Goliath Paladins, I think I can offer one up to the counterspell gods here. My opponent also just like F6'd through the tail end of my turn. I'm not going to read into that, though. Yeah, that's fine. Like, we offer up the first one, we start going through the counter spells to, like, get this engine online, and then we also just have this. Alright. Well, you know, dude, hardcast Deep Analysis. So I get to just resolve an initiative creature, then. That is great for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright. We'll do the thing. Pick up a swamp, I guess. Drop that and pass. Prismatic Strand's not currently doing a lot, but we expect it to have a meaningful impact on the game later on. One has 9 cards in hand, by the way. You may cast down my creature. Is this a format where you're supposed to wait to do that until after I put this trigger on the stack? Like, because if it goes to my upkeep, I'm probably forging. Now I get to Lost Well and select instead. Yeah. Do I want both? I probably just want both. Isn't that a scary thing when your opponent just like tops cards off a scry? I think I'm just intending on riding the initiative to a win here. And I don't think I get aggro with Glint Hawk. You may cantrip. Are we going to see an upkeep shuffle? Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Still in upkeep? You're still in upkeep. 5 mana in upkeep? Okay, I think they figured it out. Alright, there is a Tolarian Terror. There is another Tolarian Terror. We can fog these like forever. And I can also play like a cast down around a Spell Pierce pretty easily. Oh, are we Gurmagging as well? Damn. Sure. So I want to kill the Gurmag with this because it doesn't have ward. So cast down Gurmag. And then we'll go ahead and crack this clue, draw our other Tithing Blade. I think I'm interested in the 4/1 creature. We're going to keep working down the right side of the initiative dungeon here. Stash. And a Deadly Dispute. Sure. Well, let's start here. Attempt this. Looks like it's good. Attempt Glint Hawk to pick it back up. That works. Attempt Tithing Blade again. In play. That works. Fantastic. Still 4 mana available. Successfully bash in for a point of damage. We have multiple relevant spells held up. We're also nearing the end of the initiative dungeon. Lorien Revealed. I don't want a deadly dispute in response to that. But I'm not going to do that. Because like my opponent's going to end up with an 8th card here. And if they don't like make a land drop or play a creature or something, I can just completely ignore Spell Pierce. I can also just do this on my turn, ignoring a Spell Pierce just as easily, or do it after they tap out for a Gurmag Angler. Turn target creature from your graveyard to your hand, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target zombie you control. Okay, cool. They can get their card back, but not actually do anything with it. So that's fine. Now I can just 100% comfortably just Deadly Dispute, sacking a treasure to draw 2. Immediately replace the treasure. Ooh, Monarch. Monarch that is guaranteed resolving is disgusting. There's a 4/1. Ooh, another Deadly Dispute as well. Juicy. Actually, let's tap that better. Let's go like 1, 2, 3, 4 for this. I have Monarch and Initiative. We can also probably do just like safely do a draw 2 here. Just turning a treasure into a draw 2 and a treasure. Making a land drop. Bashing in for 3. Opponent's at 13. I have the Monarch and the Initiative. 6 Fogs, a Tithing Blade, and a Cast Down. Also Throne of the Dead 3 is about to happen. This is fine. Like, my opponent can get their creatures back, but I'm unsure how much that matters. As wild as that is to say. Alright, there's an Angler. I'll cast that down. I don't think I need to play Cast Down around double Spell Pierce by moving to my own turn. This might be a good spot to cast down. No, I'm actually not going to do that, because there's enough stuff in graveyard that my opponent could just relatively easily redeploy it. Or redeploy a Gurmag Angler. Alright, so let's cast down. It is successful. Means I get to Throne of the Dead 3. Okay, maybe those aren't the ideal hits. That's maybe not what we wanted. So let's go. Bam. Yeah, no, let's just start here. Take out a Terror. Successfully. Which is super cool. Let's Relic. An opponent does not have enough for the flashback on this. I think I'm just going to immediately crack that. Another removal spell is great. This creature is hexproof as well, just FYI. Agony Warp, sure. That means I don't actually get that much raw damage off this turn. How much is it to do this? 5. Oh, I should have done this before I exiled graveyards. Since I didn't, let's just draw a card. Red. And this isn't even spell pierceable because I still just have treasures. Now we'll bottom that. I've already made my land drop. Yeah, we're good. Draw a card for Monarch. Sure. Yeah, I think my sequencing was poor that turn. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, make a bird. Sure. That's slightly annoying. But if we just end up moving to my turn without any other spells being cast, I am okay with this. You don't need to junk that yet. All right. Pull a basic land out of the deck. Still got a handful, which matters for these. Ooh, a Glint Hawk. Well, let's start by attempting this. Yeah, that's fine. It's annoying, but it's fine. These strands just buy me infinite time versus these bodies. Let's attempt a Glint Hawk. Yes. Still think I'm just going to bounce this, despite the awkwardness. Does this one fly? This one doesn't innately fly. Let's go. Bam. Death Toucher's fine. The other flyer is fine. Leave back 2 bodies for prismatic strand purposes on flashback. Okay, that's fine. Heal my opponent 3. I still do just want to play a Tithing Blade to take out that token. That is still worth it to me. And we're going to play an untapped, or I guess I have these treasures. 1, 2, 3. I guess I can play around a double Spell Pierce by playing the untapped land. Okay. More Monarch. Enough out on my bird. Sure. That's fine. Again, still have these. I think I'll let my opponent draw and commit the attacker. If that's a draw 3, I'll fog in response. All right. Damage is prevented from blue sources. I have this on flashback if I need it. A couple turns back, I should have played Glint Hawk into Tithing Blade before I played the targeted removal spell on this. All right. So I'm definitely going to Forge. The 4/4 Glint Hawk becomes a lethal-sized body. I think I'm into that. Orzhov Basilica. I can also just, like, do this, put my opponent on 2-turn clock from that. Not to mention just Trap is a 1-turn clock as well. I should play spells first. So let's play another one of these. Combat should have happened. Send in a bird. It's a lethal attack. Send in the Death Toucher. This just bounces there, and my opponent has shown me that they're going to make that block. I'm just going to leave back 2 white creatures for Prismatic Strand flashback purposes. All right. Opponent goes to 3. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with the Glint Hawk. Oh, sure, you're going to attempt to take that out from my graveyard. That's reasonable. I don't super foresee it as a problem. Not really expecting my opponent to have ways to gain life. Let's drop a Basilica. I should have bounced Bojuka Bog, but I didn't foresee that. This is 5. I don't have the mana to do that, so I'll just draw my card for Monarch. Barrenmore, that's fine. I'll let my opponent draw their card. I still have 2 castings of Prismatic Strands. I don't think I am losing Monarch and Initiative here. Yes, that's fine. Florian revealed. Sure. You get a bird. I guess I make you commit the attackers this time. Pattern's a little different. 1 bird. Tempt Fog. Deal Sabotage. Bounces this to my hand, sure. Choose blue here. This deterministically just leaves my opponent dead to trap, I believe. And that's death. Notably here, that was game 2. So that was incredibly grindy. That was intricate gameplay. My decisions mattered a lot. Like, feels good. That is enjoyable Magic, and I hope it was fun to watch. It was a incredibly long round, though. Today's video is sponsored by Eminence Gaming. They have run a ton of tournaments at this point, and you might know them from the competitive EDH scene, but their Command Tower software can be used for all sorts of different formats. It's really easy. You can even just give your players a QR code in order to get them all of their pairings and everything that they can need. I really love this software as a player, and you should talk to your stores about it. Consider using it. It's cool. All right, I don't have white mana here, and my early game is entirely white centric. I'm gonna ship this one. This is fine. I think I just don't want the Baron more. Like, I'm not at the point where I want to cycle a land. I am happy with the number of mana sources that I have. I don't know what this means in this format, but it's probably not something super fair. Probably doesn't matter too much which one I get. I'm gonna grab up Plains. Are we still like? Is this just gonna be like a big initiative creature that's coming? I like actually legitimately don't know what my opponent is up to over there. And it may be like my play is wrong because of that. Like if this is just going to be an initiative creature, I'm supposed to like play a Kor Skyfisher and be able to attack next turn. But again, I don't know what's happening, so can't make informed decisions. Pentad Prism. Chalice. Okay. Sure. What the fuck is happening? I'm going to assume that I am in a control role here and just make a land drop and pass the turn. I don't think it makes sense to try to aggro out whatever my opponent is doing. But like I might just be wrong. Oh, it's this shit. So I now have a poison counter, which means all my opponent's proliferate cards start ticking the game towards a conclusion. And that... Alright. I know what's going on now. I don't know that my deck is well suited to beat this. Like, I think this is just essentially a non-interactive combo deck. Like, I have a limited amount of discard. And my opponent is just going to proliferate this stuff into oblivion. I just don't think my deck is going to be fast enough to contest what my opponent is doing. Especially with shit that looks like that. So, I'm not saying the game is over or anything, but it kind of feels like I am not going to make any meaningful game one decisions. And I don't know how much better things are going to get. You don't destroy the things that I need to destroy. I guess I can do this on that sort of stuff and duress, and I guess technically Relic does stuff, but yeah, I don't like this. I'm somehow only at 4 poison counters after all these things that my opponent has cast. I thought I was at more. Sure. Proliferate again. I don't know what that one does. What is this? Draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. Poison counter. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. This, though, not good gameplay. I don't super have an easy artifact to return. I guess I'll just take the initiative. I don't think it's racing my opponent. And it's not like I can play an initiative creature earlier than turn 5. We're not a ramp deck. I'll attack for 1. But my opponent's at 32. I just don't upkeep. Oh, is that a scry land? Sure. There's another proliferate. My opponent then scried and is passing the turn. We'll forge up. Goliath Paladin wasn't so expensive. I would just be like repeatedly bouncing it with Kor Skyfisher. What am I bouncing with these Skyfisher? Like, am I just bouncing lands and just essentially going all in? It's not like I really need to play spells, I guess. Just bounce a land, 2 mana, Skyfisher, bounce a land, 2 mana, Tithing Blade to just have that in play. Pass turn, draw a card for Monarch. Yeah, so like, this is not very fun for my deck to play against. Like, I just physically have 0 ways of interacting with this, but like, this is fucking turn 7. So like, any reasonable aggro-based deck would have my opponent dead. But I am not that sort of deck, so, you know. This is the style of deck I showed up with. That's 9 and 10. Sure. So essentially, Strand sucks. Fumes suck. Cast Down sucks. Omen of the Dead sucks. Tithing Blade Also sucks, but technically has a backside that might matter. I will Duress. I will, I guess, Dust to Dust. I will, I guess, Relic. And I will play some 1/3 attackers that can technically exile a card from a graveyard. This feels awful. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not going to say it's ideal, but maybe we can keep the opponent from giving us the first poison counter. That would be clutch. All right, this gives a poison counter. That's the only card here that gives a poison counter? Hell yeah. So hopefully we punch a hole by taking that I can then capitalize on. All right, Woodlot, gone. Red. Do I just start literally just start attacking my opponent for 2 next turn? Honestly, kind of into it. This is weird. All right, there's that. I assume we're Pentad Prisming. That's fine. Ah, shit, they drew another one. All right. The game is afoot. I now need to race my opponent. I am going to just play this and get the Basilica land drop out of the way this turn and just eliminate that tapped land from the equation. And then next turn, I can play this as my second white source, Dust to Dust as Pentad Prism, and eliminate some of my opponent's mana. Sure. Chunk a card from your graveyard. All right, 16. No! This ancient-ass card exiles 2 target artifacts. Not optional. Fuck. That's a sorcery? Yeah, fuck me. All right. All right. It ain't perfect, folks. Yeah, all modern templating is now exile up to, 2 is how all these current ones would be worded. Okay, sure. Rip taking out that deep analysis, I guess. All right. I am displeased. There's a chalice. Sure. And the deep analysis, the other hickory woodlot. Got it. Red? We're looking for something like an initiative creature that just deals a large amount of damage. You're not an initiative creature. You don't deal a large amount of damage. Hello, initiative creature? Glint Hawk? Let's call that an above average draw and keep it. Playing a 2/2, as sad as this sounds, literally doubles my clock. Here's the first proliferator. Land drop. Second proliferator. All my known information is now out. Kor Skyfisher. All right. I don't have a lot of time here, but I can drastically increase the amount of damage that I can do. This is 3 mana. I have 4 mana. If I bounce a land, I can have 5 mana. So let's Glint Hawk. Yes. Bounce one of these. 2 mana. I think Skyfisher. Bounce a land, play a land, play one of these. Thraben Inspector. Let's try to hit better than that. Fail. I have my opponent on a 2-turn clock. And I don't have heuristics to know how long I am likely to have left in this world. That does lose my opponent 2 life. That's worth something. Sure. Draw 3 with Proliferate. That'll put me to 7. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to outpace that life gain. Just kind of thinking about how the numbers are likely to work here. This is 16. I'm only dealing 7 a turn as of right now. Also going to shuffle some bad cards back into my deck. So that's 21. I draw a card. I expect to die this turn with deep analysis in graveyard as an additional source of card draw. Yeah. I don't know. I can't really imagine, like, wanting to repeatedly play Magic with this deck, though. Doesn't seem fun. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Just the best place to host your deck lists online, just full period. It is. And I can say lots of nice things about them, or I can just show you that I have 328 deck lists on this site, and I think that's about the best endorsement that I can give them. I've kept a hand without black mana, but between my first 2 draw steps and an extra clue from Thraben Inspector, I am hopefully going to hit my black mana and have a functional game. I'm also not expecting things in this format to just go so turbo that it is just damning to miss a color in, the short term. Yeah, we might even pick that Thraben Inspector up rather than drawing with the clue here. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just start extracting our value. Call it a turn. If we're playing against a terror deck again. Seems likely. So knowing in advance how much of a slog this is, I'm going to try to start proactively playing a little bit faster. Because I don't really want to just time out in game 3 because I'm recording and talking. Let's battle. This turn's a little awkward. I really want to crack that clue and make a land drop, but it is probably better to just double Thraben Inspector. So let's do that. 1 hat boy. 2 hat boys. Alright, we've got 4 power in play. If I don't draw a land, I'm probably committed to just cracking the clue token more or less no matter what I draw next turn. We have enough stored permanents at this point that I just need to ensure that I make land drops. Non-matching islands. Sure. Ooh, I don't like that. This game may go much faster than some of our previous games, folks. Ooh. This is the ward one. I think, unfortunately, we have to do this into Spell Pierce. Yep. But I'm gonna be choked on mana all game, so I think I just have to take that sacrifice. These don't fly. Like, I'm about to get whacked for 10 hypothetical points of damage. And I probably end up chumping one of the 2 with a Thraben Inspector here. Ooh, there's Delvers. Are we on a mono blue version? We might be on a mono blue version. I'm gonna chump once. And keep another one of these around in case I need an extra body for Prismatic Strands or something. I don't love my entire situation here. I think I'm on track to lose this game unless I high roll pretty hard. So I'm going to take a very greedy play and try to spike an untapped land here. I miss. That's fine. But I think I'm dead if I don't continue to make land drops after missing some in the early game. Like, I can trade Skyfisher with flipped Delver. I can chump once, but then things are pretty bad from there. I would kind of like to see if my opponent has a second color before we go to the next game. No, it looks like my opponent's mono blue. We'll take blocks like this to kill the Delver, save 5 life. Quite far behind on board, and if my opponent's got counterspells backing things up, life isn't good. We're missing land drops too. This isn't a removal spell. Alright. This is a brutal counterspell. Alright. We almost have a removal spell for this. We have 2 cast downs, but I can't pay the ward tax here. I have 3 mana. I can't Lembus. No, okay. No, I have 1 out to survive a turn at 5 life. It needs to be a Glint Hawk. It is not a Glint Hawk. All right, we died pretty quickly that time. Do I like my relics? Duress doesn't sound bad. Doesn't sound great either, but it doesn't sound bad. Don't know that I'm into this. Don't know that I'm into this. This so far gets me this, and then I have to think about these. Maybe not. Maybe not. My opponent has the, go wide, make birds guy. It's possible that I want to keep some of this pseudo board wipe stuff. I I think this is a 4-card hand. I'm in a mulligan. I think this is a stronger hand, and I suspect that I'm not ready for this yet. Let's do this, grab a plains, call it a turn. Then we can do some Thraben Inspector, potentially with Kor Skyfisher nonsense in the early game. I've drawn a few more ETB tapped lands than I'd like, but what are you going to do? All right, there's the milling. Happy enough seeing terrors hit the graveyard. I don't mind that as a theoretical draw. I am a little unsure what I am supposed to do this turn. Like, do I just play this, pick this up, and keep the pressure up? Or do I use this to replay this? I think since I can immediately redeploy this if I want, like maybe it's fine to play this now, but I can also just get an ETB tapped land out of the way and crack this clue. Let's do that. That is a draw that makes me want to do this, but I have an initiative creature coming, so playing tapped lands is generally speaking a good idea. And I think I awkwardly grab another singular white source, and we go from here. We'll potentially set up a shuffle. This Terror deck is a pretty good brainstorm deck with the ability to both like Thought Scour and Lorien Reveal shuffle. What do we got? All right, this is Cryptic Serpent. You don't have any protection, although Tithing Blade does protect that. Or sorry, the Delver does protect that from Tithing Blade, but we'll just pick it up and do it again. So 2 mana Edict you. I think I'll pick it up with Glint Hawk here. 1 mana Glint Hawk. Pick it up. I think I'm going to get this tapped land out of the way rather than play a Thraben Inspector this turn. And just confirm my land drop for the next couple of turns. Because I know I'm getting hit for 6, and it might end up being much more than that, depending on how many counter spells my opponent has to back this up. Like, I know from my previous round that I can expect 1 mana answers to Tithing Blade. Like, I can see in a null here. I saw, like, Steel Sabotage and some other similar card last round. Fuck. Alright. Shit. Okay. Understood. So these ones don't have the protection. I can just 100% double check myself. Cast down one of those. 2 mana Tithing Blade one of those. Yeah, so my opponent has the one with Ward now. Hopefully deal with that in a bit. Then I'll Thraben Inspector. You don't fly. Bash in for 2 in the air. And I think I'm into a chump block with a Thraben Inspector. I might need to do some wiggling. Deadly Dispute is interesting. Do I just jam an initiative creature? Just straight up? Make my, like, it dodges a lot of, like, non-actual factual counterspell spells. My opponent probably doesn't have much removal. Like, I can chump block Terror with Inspector, trade Glint Hawk for Delver, then Skyfisher Blade. Yeah, let's try to force some combat here. I'll grab a swamp, play a swamp, and call it a turn. I don't know what sort of, like, bounce-based removal my opponent might have. But I can also just, like, in theory, forge up a Goliath Paladin and make the biggest booty creature ever that can just block these serpents. Delver doesn't flip. Alright. Don't love seeing that. Alright, we're going to stare at each other now. That's fine. I think that is going to favor me. Like, I just have the initiative here. So I get my guaranteed value every single turn. Ooh, cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or sorry, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's start here. Throw Tithing Blade to hand. I think we still play it as an Edict. I maybe should have cracked this earlier. That's fine. And we're just gonna hold. Like, I could try to do some chip damage in the air here with the Glint Hawk. But I think I just want to try to set up favorable combat. Ooh, a snap. Sure. Favorable combat scenarios for me. Now what? So for 5 mana, I can retake the initiative after also just attacking for the initiative. I think that's fine. I'm just trying to decide how much damage I want to take. I think I'm going to take all of it. Like, I don't mind my opponent getting a land drop, I don't think. The real question is, like, do I attack with 1 or 2 creatures on my turn? I think 2. This is too many deadly disputes. These cards are very awkward right now, tempo-wise. Might need a deadly dispute to start this turn off. And very awkwardly sacrifice this. Thanks, I hate it. I could also just, like, sacrifice a creature that attacks this turn. That might be more reasonable. And we'll leave Thraben Inspector back to block. So this is 13. I trap. Put my opponent to 8. I think we'll deadly dispute, sacrificing a 2/2. That's resolved. Baron, Moor, and Relic are both quite slow here. Not really what I'm looking for. I think I need to put another body in play. Actual factual counterspell is a little rough here, which my opponent does have. I'm going to make this as a land drop and pass the turn. Got a chump block, and I go to 1. And that means that the next time my opponent hits me, I am dead. I'm not the best at stopping that. I also need to take the initiative back, so like a snap is also a disaster. I think I'm on the back foot here. Forged up 1 is also pretty scary. All right, not what I'm looking for. So step 1 is, can I attack and take the initiative? Because I am always dead if I do not. Looks like we've cleared that hurdle. I get to draw a card for archives. Glint Hawk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think I Goliath Paladin first, and then use that as the bait for another actual factual counterspell, and then play Glint Hawk into Tithing Blade afterwards. I think that is reasonable. It's just like Spell Pierce is a thing to think about. Ooh. With 3 +1/+1 counters, this walls a lot of stuff. This walls everything. This one does have Death Touch. I think I like the idea of walling everything with Hexproof. Let's do that. Grab a land. Throw Glint Hawk out here. Bounce Blade. Then we can go ahead and play Blade around a Spell Pierce. Nice. If my opponent forgot about my treasure, or if they have another Spell Pierce. Nope, they forgot about the treasure. Okay. So I'm now successfully walling this creature. Next turn, I can clear my opponent's graveyard while drawing a bunch of cards and probably just killing my opponent, actually. And this is hexproof, so it's not getting bounced. All right, we forced game 3. That was looking dubious for a little while, though. I don't think I'm going to change my sideboarding. So I have my colors. I have a turn 1 relic. I don't have immediate removal, but I'm hoping that a turn 1 relic puts enough pressure on my opponent's graveyard that it can buy me time to do other reasonable Magic the Gathering card things. All right. Untapped white land is cool, but I think I just always play this on turn 1, even if it gets spell pierced. Like, the upside of this being in play is so incredibly high. All right, no immediate mental note type effect. No turn 2 play either. Hell yeah. Let's just play some bread. Good old elf bread. I don't think I need another land here. Yeah, that's a little bit more of the speed I was hoping for. Sure. That's fine. I don't know that that was worth a card. Like, feel free to prove me wrong. Fine. I think I'm going to need to play Relic around Spell Pierce on my turn. Like, that's a reasonable reason to Echoing Truth. There's the land cycle and the shuffle. So I think I'm going to make an untapped land drop here. Play Relic. Tap Relic. I think Glint Hawk. And then leave up the ability to crack Relic if my opponent does some sort of end of turn Thought Scour thing. Which they did not do. That's fine. There's the land drop. Delver's fine. Maybe I'm supposed to just crack this here. Clear out the graveyard a bit. And just convert this into another card. Untapped lands have nice utility in being able to play this around a Spell Pierce, which I can't do right now. So it goes on another untapped white source in theory. Okay, we got an actual counter spell for that. I'll consider that a win. Bounce a land. Drop a Thraben Inspector. I think I'm actually the beatdown right now. But I kind of want my opponent to attack in and trade this Delver with this so that the board is clear for an initiative card. But let's be a turtle. We have a blind flip on the Delver. We do to Spell Pierce, which is a card that we knew was not in my opponent's hand previously, but now we can potentially play around. I'm going to pop that one out just so I don't forget that. All right, 5 mana. I can jam a Goliath Paladin if I'd like. I don't know that I feel super safe doing some of this stuff yet. Let's just play some Magic the Gathering cards and see where things go. Whoa. This got hard noped. Was not expecting that. Let's drop a Skyfisher. Bounce good old Thraben Inspector. Now that I have a second one of these in play, I think I'm comfortable offering this trade. It makes my edicts better. Opponent says no to the trade. Let's get this out of the way. Bring up another white source. And then we'll call it a turn. All right, things are going well for us. We've seen 2 actual factual counterspells used. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll have 6 mana this turn. So I think we're going to go Bait Spell. Start chipping away at the graveyard. And then I think I play a Haymaker. I just have to decide which one. I think it's the initiative. I think this favors me turtling up more. White, white, black, black. This is another black. Grab a white. Already made a land drop. And I think I'm just going turtle mode. No plays for my opponent with their mana, which is highly favorable to me. I think we end up like forging up this Goliath Paladin. Yeah, yeah, if you can't meaningfully impact the board here, the game's over. I respect that concession a lot. Okay, this isn't really a functional hand mana-wise. That's going to go back. This one has mana. We're going to keep this. I don't know what goes back. Just absolutely no idea what goes back here. This is where I need reps to know. I'm going to throw back 1 cast down, but like it's possible I'm supposed to keep double cast down into Thorn as like a real plan. So we're probably playing against an affinity deck, which we have not seen this league yet. So there's that. Get our black mana. And we'll see what terrible things my opponent can do to us. It's my understanding that this deck is now like, I think base blue, white, and all that glitters offers some scary aggro starts where, you know, your opponent who is playing a bunch of artifact lands can just super grow their creatures fast. So we'll see how quickly this gets wild. All right. Honest to goodness Frogmite. Maybe Frogmite is not honest, ever. Okay, no, that's cool. So you Glint Hawk. Oh no, you can't actually bounce the Frogmite. It's not free. I mean, like you can. Yeah, I think they just realized that. Yeah, it's 4 artifacts while the Frogmite is in play, but it's not once you bounce it to your hand. So my opponent traded their 2/2 for a flyer. I think I'm going to hold up cast down in case all that glitters gets involved, but if I get hit by a counterspell and look like a dummy, be aware that I thought about it. But like it's possible that I am giving them an extra mana that is relevant and matters. Alright, now the Frogmite's free. I will still go ahead and fire off the removal spell here. I think I've just got to use mana. I also want to take out flyers, because like Monarch is a thing that I would like to hold as this game goes on. Okay. That gives me a reasonable thing to do with all 3 of my mana this turn, which is about as much as I could ask for. No. Powerful card, wrong time. We are looking for more removal. We'd like to find Tithing Blade and then play it 72 times. 71 times might be enough, but never be too safe. I don't know what this pause on my opponent's end step is in terms of spells. Well, I guess I'll figure it out. Oh, red. Okay, we are just sky based. That's fine. I did want to trade my 2/2 for their 2/2 though. How many artifacts are we looking at with that land drop? 2, 4, 6. Okay. Stuff's cheap. Just about everything is free. Everything except like Mirror Enforcers. How do we feel about Throne? Or Thorn? I think that's a no. I think I play Double Bread. I don't really feel safe. I feel like I'm just going to like play that card and then my opponent plays another Gal Blast and I'm sad. Bread? Bread? Nah. Inspector. Say no to that too. Play more bread. Suffocating Fumes, not quite. Wrong matchup. Suffocating Fumes is the sort of card like when you have it in the right spot and you just completely bust open a matchup like Fairies, it's just batshit insane. Ginger Brute? Bit of Suffocating Fumes to that. Oh, what just happened? Oh, you just make it. Can't be blocked. For no reason? It already had haste. Yeah, that is just waste of a mana. Prismatic Shards. Lol, lol, lol. Okay. Let's play the Inspector. I think we immediately draw a card off that. Okay, I mean, that's fine. 2/3 booty is big enough right now. No counter spell. Let's. I like the scry and the immediate card draw here. I'm somehow tilting this game in my favor. I don't feel like I should be. Like I feel like I should just be dead, but I'm not. This can be like pseudo unblockable forever. Edict gets a little worse now. Yeah, sure, that's fine. But if I only end up like taking 1 damage per turn cycle, like I will either out damage my opponent or out grind my opponent. This affinity deck is currently feeling very fair. See how I feel in other rounds. Bread? I think I bred off 2 black sources. We've got a pause here. My opponent might have a counterspell and they're just wondering, like, is this a thing that I actually counterspell? A Deadly Dispute? That's a great card. I think my opponent just kind of telegraphed that they have a counterspell. Can feed Kor Skyfisher to it this turn, take this later. Or just bottom this. Let's just bottom that. Or bread. Play a Skyfisher. Everything's working. Bounce bread. Play Basilica. I think it's fine to drop a Strands. And we'll attack with Kor Skyfisher. We'll leave 1 back on defensive duty. And if we end up like taking 3 damage because my opponent Galv blasts a Kor Skyfisher, I'm not really a believer that that's the end of the world. Alright, damage connected. Alright, my opponent has their first value engine of the game, an experimental synthesizer. They got that into Thraben Inspector. That is a good amount of value. And cracking that clue immediately. Sure. And this can be done at instant speed, sure. Now, sorcery speed only. And I'm just going to take 1 off this. Yeah, 14 is fine. Want to take out this Ginger Brute. Then I can safely deploy this and probably just be real good for the rest of the game. Alright, I take one. There is a Tithing Blade. That will slowly start doing some work, but my opponent has some fodder. Let's play some bread first. And I should have done that off the Basilica. Skyfisher's fine. So I will Tithing Blade. Tithing Blade is surprisingly difficult to say. Alright, goodbye Ornithopter. Hello Skyfisher. Bounce the blade. We're going to shuffle some cards I don't super want back into my deck. Probably not the end of the world. Then I've made my land drop. We'll attack for 4. I'd say my position looks good, but I do not think this game is decisively in my favor. Like, it's pretty easy for my opponent to just have some sick rips off of this and get to a position where, ooh, another one. Finding a Thoughtcast, yeah, where they just chain things together and, like, find, what is it, all that glitters. Sure, more Ginger Brutes are good. I've shuffled one of those, what is it, Smothering, the -1/-1 cards. I've shuffled that back into my deck now. That is something that I can, in theory, find and do gross things with. I'm at 13. I feel like all I do is play bread. It's sort of interesting. I do have a creature in my graveyard. Probably just have better things to do. Bread. Bottom that. Okay. Play an Edict. If my opponent sacrifices their worst creatures here, I have a better chance at actually just getting in for damage in this turn cycle. And this 7th point of damage could be relevant. Alright, the Frogmite goes down. I've got my opponent on a 2-turn clock. All that glitters is still super spooky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Puts me to 16. Maybe I hold up bread rather than play out the Inspector. Alright, sacking a Synthesizer. Finding a Thoughtcast. Playing a Thoughtcast. Yeah, there we go. This is the scary thing that can happen. So my opponent can hit me for 14, assuming they Springleaf Drum, but then they're dead on the backswing. Or no, I don't have showing blockers, so they don't have to invest mana this turn. Oh, I don't know why we're doing this. Like, that just makes you more likely to be dead. Sure. Spectres. Ooh. No, that's fine. This is still 15. This is 1 short of lethal. So I sacrifice my bread to gain some life. I survive the attack at 1. Alright. So my opponent's dead if I find a removal spell for this. That's interesting. Doesn't quite do it on its own. And this triggers on my upkeep. Okay. So let's play this and draw my card. Do this off black sources. What does Glint Hawk do? Glint Hawk has a redraw. The Edict doesn't matter. My opponent has 2 lethal threats. Okay, so Glint Hawk is a redraw. On bread. And I can still hit a 2-mana removal spell on Thraben Inspector. Bam. And I get 2 looks at it. Looking for a cast down. Goliath Paladin is not cast down. Deadly Dispute also not cast down. Still have outs. Hits need to be perfect though. Sacrifice 1 blade. I need land and cast down. Found a land. And now I need my opponent to mess up because I'm out of effective redraws. I need them to not block Thraben Inspector. And I'm dead if they do basic combat math. Fuck. Alright. Yeah, this unblockable just gets me next turn. So I will pass the turn. And I guess they can forget to activate Ginger Brute. That shouldn't happen. They have activated Ginger Brute too many times as is. Sure. Another Ginger Brute. Most unfortunate. Alright, one of them's unblockable. At this point, I am going to just concede. I don't have an out to that. I'm not going to make my opponent think through it. Alright, Prismatic Strands is largely not good here. You only destroy enchantments. Yeah. So Dust to Dust, actively good. Drown in Sorrow playable? Question mark? I've boarded out this Omen of the Dead every round, and I think I'm going to continue to do so. I understand why it's there, but I just think it's going to be one of my worst cards. This stuff versus Initiative is like a little sketch. I think I'm going to get rid of this. Like, it has some cool instant speed snipe the Ginger Brute situations, but I think clearing out like Frogmites and Ornithopters and stuff that are being played out with this stuff is just better. So some of this stuff sometimes dies in a Drown in Sorrow. That's something to keep in mind. But I'm already at 6 cards. Deadly Dispute's a little slow here. That is what it is. Sure. We've got Inspector, pass, into Cast Down on probably just literally whatever my opponent plays first. Just keep the artifact count low. But I might end up cracking this clue. I don't really have something to do with Glint Hawk yet. That is probably better than holding up Cast Down. Let's do that, because that makes my Glint Hawk more live in future turns, and then next turn I have a 3-mana set of plays. My opponent is playing noticeably more slowly than I am. Like, they are down a surprising amount of clock for playing an aggro deck. Tithing Blade sounds great. I'm obviously not interested in any attacks for the rest of my turn. Alright, so with that land drop, artifact count is 3, 4, 5. Oh, we're doing an all that glitters. Sure. I can just cast down that body. And I think this block is worth 7 life. That is a-okay with me. Ooh. Yeah, we're gonna do serious work with a Tithing Blade. Tithing Blade in a minute. So cast down that Inspector. I think I do bounce the bread once. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't, and I just go Edict, bounce Edict next turn. I'm gonna say that I'm wrong. I don't think I need the 2/2 in play. I think I can have the patience. We're mostly just hoping my opponent doesn't get the like Thoughtcast style cards that start pulling them ahead in terms of number of cards in hand. That's fine. It's very actively good. I've got edicts. Like, I see the path to eliminate all this stuff, and I'm still at 18. So like, I am not in any immediate danger. So that gets rid of Frogmite. Then we'll drop this, return the blade, and call it a turn. We're missing some land drops, which like isn't the greatest because my hand is currently very mana hungry. My opponent is in very real danger if we go to a game 3 of timing out. They are not taking their game actions at a reasonable rate. All right, so here's some card advantage. Getting another Enforcer, very strong play. Sure. Again, though, like with Tithing Blade and another Glint Hawk, this is just like not a real problem. I'll take this damage. I'd like to hit a land drop this turn. Ooh, that's real good. Not literally this turn, but it is very good. We'll need that other white mana. Bounce the blade. I think I just hold back. And if my opponent attacks, I just double block and say, like, show me a combat trick. Like, show me a Galvanic Blast. I, like, very legitimately win this game by timeout a relatively substantial portion of the time. We're cracking a Synthesizer. We are finding a Kor Skyfisher, which is not currently castable. Okay, now it's castable. And that can get a rebuy on the Synthesizer. What? Okay. Whether or not I draw white mana naturally on my turn is kind of a big deal, huh? Because in theory, I'd like to trade, Dust to Dust. Take out both of these. That is just so much better for me. I think I'm going to take this hit. I'm at 10. I did not hit the untapped white source of my dreams, unfortunately. But I did hit a white source. And that is still quite relevant. Tithing Blade is, in theory, making some of my blocks worse. I'm hoping to stabilize at a pretty low life total here. Burn spells are scary. I think I've got most other stuff covered. Ooh. Dust to Dust is not going to cover that. Shit. That is an incredible top deck. Take 10, go to 1. Dust to Dust, double body. This is not great. I think I'm going to die before my opponent times out. Play Dust to Dust, kill, kill, block, dead. I'm 1 mana short of bread. Damn it. Skyfisher Blade. Get rid of 1, block 2, dead. Deadly Dispute. Deadly Dispute off black, black. Junking a Clue. This is how much life? 1. Puts me to 2 life. Dispute, dispute, block, be exactly dead. Damn it. Alright. GG. Alright, this is a pretty good 6-card hand. Again, I don't like this Omen of the Dead, and I've boarded it out every single round. Alright, we've got a repeat of the last round. I have a cast down to answer Gingerbrute, which was a problematic card previously. I'm supposed to play this here. The mana base is such that, like, we have more swamps than plains, but I'm finding that a lot of times I want more white mana. I'm going to just accordingly grab another white. It means that sometimes I won't be able to Omen of the Dead and, like, cast down in the same turn, but I don't really expect to be able to utilize this card well, if I'm just fully being honest. Yeah, we'll Blade here. We get the 2/2 Frogmite, presumably. It depends on what my opponent has, and then if they go for something like an All That Glitters, I can just cast down the thing that gets it. Okay, they are not opting for the unblockable. They're keeping the 2/2. See how that works out for them. I'm at 17. Cast down my best play in this turn cycle? I think so. Grab a black this time. Call it a turn. I'm not going to try to snipe and All That Glitters. I'm just going to decrease the artifact count immediately. What is that? Okay, that's an island. That's an island. Alright, yep. Sure. Are we doing this? It's great if it works. I have a dead card. And I currently consider this a dead card, I think. I don't think I want to sacrifice this. I'm going to take a slightly risky line, I think. It's a risky line with incredible upside, though. Just like Gingerbrute is a fucking thing. Alright, we're staring at each other. I drew an untapped land, which is really good. I will just jam this into a counterspell, though. I didn't see any from my opponent last game, but, like, they're presumably in the deck. Yeah, that's fine. Like, I'm trading 1 for 1 when I draw an extra card each turn, and that is fine with me. Again, we're looking to dodge Gingerbrute specifically, because that unblockable will be a menace. Strands is not what I am looking for. We're gonna bread. Now, Ancient Den. Where's Deadly Dispute now? My opponent could have more counterspells. I'm gonna Deadly Dispute now anyway. Sacrificing the bread. Okay, Glint Hawk is cool. Let's play that. This at least gives me an evasive creature. If shit goes south. Are we jamming? I think I'm just gonna jam. Again, if I trade 1 for 1 while I am drawing an extra card every turn, that is advantageous to me. Alright, love seeing that. Alright, we have Thoughtcast online. Fuck that guy. Guy's really fucking good. Sure. They forgot to activate. Nope, they decided to attack first and then activate. That's fine. So the Monarch is now a contested game instead of one side mono fun town for me. This is a total of 4 mana to get Mirror Enforcer. I mean, it's probably happening. Bounce the blade, play the blade. Enforcer is gone. Go ahead and attack with both my creatures. Retake the Monarch. Colored mana situation is a touch awkward here. I have to spend resources on this. I don't think I'm interested in that. Fine card that I am happy to see just at this exact moment. Slightly awkward. Yeah, I have not been overly impressed with Deadly Dispute this league. Like, it's probably supposed to be in the deck, like, please don't get me wrong, but in a lot of these situations, my hand is kind of full anyway. So, oh, I see, they just paid full price for that. These assholes keep coming back. Sure. I'm just dead to that next turn. Prismatic Strands doesn't stop it. So I can Glint Hawk. I don't know that it's realistic to try to, like, remove a large number of my opponent's permanents and stay alive with Limbus, because I'm also just, like, not winning the game immediately. This not really fast enough. Let's start with a Deadly Dispute on the bread. I can find a single target removal spell. Everything is great. The world has a fucking sense of humor. So we're looking for a single target removal spell now, or I think I'm dead. I think no. I think we try to hit. That works. So Tithing Blade. Sack this. Land drop. Glint Hawk. Pick up a blade. And then Edict this. I'm dead to a counterspell. Opponent did not have it. Already played a land drop. 5 damage and Monarch. Okay. Bailed my ass out. Ugh. So, that's fine. Really? That's neat. So, I think I start here. Just do this. I can sacrifice one of the Tithing Blades, I think. Okay. Let's just take the removal spell as is. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's Inspector. I thought in my mind I could play this as well, but I clearly can't. So that was just a misplay on my end. Okay. Then let's gain some life. Do one of these. Bounce a land. Go to combat. Swing in with everything. And we have a blocker for if my opponent draws something like All That Glitters. I guess I could be dead to just like the absolute perfect strings of like Thoughtcast nonsense into another Thoughtcast effect. Maybe I should have left back one more body, but I'm like discarding a Prismatic Strands. Maybe I leave back one more body. Alright, so Prismatic Strands is horrible. My opponent has Moon Circuit Hacker in their build. Maybe Suffocating Fumes is a little better here. Get this shit out of my deck. I want this in. Gets me one of these. The Fumes are just like uniquely good versus Gingerbrute. I'm not sure on like these Fumes versus Drown in Sorrows, because the Drown in Sorrows also kill things like Frogmite and Thraben Inspectors and Samurai tokens. I think this is more valuable, despite like instant speed being very nice for Gingerbrute in particular. Maybe I'm fuck, I think I'm maybe supposed to bring in Dawnbringer Cleric to blow up All That Glitters, but I don't know. Maybe that's too deep. Auto mulligan. This one's tough. Like, I can keep it, and if I hit a land in 2 draw steps, I have a functional hand. I don't know that it's a good hand, though. Like, I don't have removal here. I think I am just going to bin this. Okay. Glint Hawk always goes, and then it's one of these two. The Thraben Inspector is a guaranteed redraw, which Kor Skyfisher isn't, but the ceiling is a lot higher on Kor Skyfisher. But I think I am just going to take the guaranteed redraw, because I need to hit land drops here, which I did. Alright. We've got a chance to make it to the mid game here without fully just getting run over. A Glint Hawk. Alright. I don't think we need to leave cast down open immediately. It's not like removing this decreases the artifact count or anything. Sure. Uh-huh. Ooh. We're land light over there. Game got a lot more interesting now. I think I just cast down to keep my opponent's artifact count lower and put a clock in play and try to capitalize on my opponent's limited mana and limited artifact count. Like with Glint Hawk into Kor Skyfisher, dealing 4 damage a turn in the air while my opponent is stumbling feels quite powerful. Send them. All right, there's the first 2. Skyfisher, bounce this, replay this. I've got a couple of accumulated cards. I can start thinking about whether or not I'm casting down something as small as an Ornithopter to keep Frogmites from coming into play. I think the answer is no. Draw 1. Sure. I can go ahead and hold up a cast down or a clue token. And I think if it makes it back to my turn and I just play a Goliath Paladin without my opponent making a land drop, they're just dead. They've got a land drop. So it costs 2 less. Okay, yep, that is already done. I guess that's a reason to cast down preemptively. Sure. End of turn. I think I just cast down the Ginger Brute and play an initiative card. Like, I think I am very firmly in the beatdown role, and I don't think I just want to draw another card here. Like, let's slam the old Haymaker. Grab a swamp, play a land drop, we'll call it a turn. And we'll see if my opponent can recover from a rocky start. They could play like a, an All That Glitters here, and it would be relatively strong. Ginger Brute is pretty good. Oh, they didn't go for unblockable to take the initiative. Interesting. I think I just create the largest number of creatures that can attack by increasing Thraben Inspector's power. Oh, that's neat. So if I do that, I lose Glint Hawk and deal 2 damage this turn. I think I'm just going to go to combat. Send him. Okay. My opponent is at 6, facing down Trap. I'm going to start by cracking the Clue. Okay. Just drown the Ornithopter. Then my opponent can't All That Glitters it. I lose Glint Hawk for Ornithopter. I don't lose this creature. That's fine. Thorn feels probably unnecessary. Play a Thraben Inspector, call it a turn. I can't really see how I lose from here. Nutty strings of Thoughtcasts, I guess. That just produce a very large number of bodies. Okay, yeah. Like, shit Frogmites and Mirror Enforcers into play and we'll talk. Okay, sure. You still need a flying blocker for Kor Skyfisher, or that's just GG. That's cleanup. That does it. And we put up a positive 3-2 finish in this league. So, is Pauper fixed? Did this banning kind of solve a lot of the problems of the format? You know, does more need to happen? You know, kind of how am I feeling? The last couple of times that I have played Pauper, I have largely felt like the decisions that I made didn't matter. And I only felt that in one way this round. Basically, against the Proliferate deck, just kind of my entire deck just doesn't really function against their deck. But I don't think that deck is real. Like, that deck was never mentioned in any sort of win percentage statements that I've seen about the format. So I'm going to take that one as an outlier. This was a very enjoyable deck to play. I had a lot of value. I had a lot of decisions that I could make. I made some of them very well, just based on the back of being a pretty solid Magic player. But there were a lot of times where I didn't have the format knowledge I needed to make proper decisions. And I think that's a good sign. Like, I felt like gameplay was good, combat math mattered, sequencing mattered. Kind of thumbs up with how things are looking right now. The All That Glitters Gingerbrute combo is definitely scary to me, especially considering how little instant speed removal there is in the format to just kind of keep you. Well, I shouldn't say in the format. Like in an average deck, a lot of times like you're not gonna have all that many answers to that. As far as this deck list goes, if red's going away and like something like Affinity is going to take its place, I don't think I want to be running 3 of these. Like, this was actively sitting in my hand for a very, very long time, and I am just generally not super hot on this card. Like, it has very high upside and can be insane, and like, don't get me wrong, it did things in this league, like as Fogs versus the like Terror deck, the Cryptic Serpent deck, like it was good, but I think I'd want to go down some number of these and get rid of Omen of the Dead. Otherwise, I liked most of the rest of the cards that I saw. This is a deck list that was created prior to the banning of Monastery Swiftspear. Like, this is the first place list from when it was still legal. So I'm sure there are adjustments to be made for a new metagame, as there always will be after bannings. So I want to go down some number of these, get rid of Omen of the Dead, and then go from there. I don't think I played or sideboarded perfectly today, but gameplay felt good, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Let me know down in the comments below kind of what your thoughts are. And remember, if you need any Magic cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your next order. Tithing Blade, Tithing Blade, Tithing Blade, Tithing Blade. Blah. Have a great rest of the day. See ya.